this. All right. All right, we are actually live in the Mitro office right now. Hi guys, it's Melanie. It's my husband, Matt.
Hey.
So we decided that we were going to do a series for people on spouses and support in your business venture. I've just been getting a ton of feedback lately from other people, other coaches on my team that are struggling to get support from their spouse. And so we're excited that you guys are going to join us over the next 5 days because we're going to give you lots of tips and sort of just give you a real talk of what life was like when we first started. So who do you got? You got Shay. Say hi to Shay. So anyways, this is Matt's first Periscope, so we're trying to figure out how to both be in the picture at the same time and make this work. So, all right. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask, and we will answer throughout this broadcast. So if you see Matt and I now, and we are obviously a team, and we work together, and I met you guys at the 2-Star Party. Hey, hi guys. All right. So anyways, so if you knew Matt and I before, we were not always, we were not really a power couple. We were sort of like, I was over here doing my thing, and he was sort of over here boycotting the whole Beachbody thing. And so there's some very inappropriate comments that come across.
That's okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure how to get rid of those people yet at all, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, so we were sort of like over here on 2 separate planets, not supportive at all. And so it was sort of a struggle for us at the beginning, and it was very much a challenge. And so Matt was basically not supportive at anything that I did with my Beachbody business, and really was almost sabotaging me at the beginning.
I didn't want you to do it.
Yeah, he thought it was a waste of money, thought it was a waste of time. I didn't understand why I was spending so much time on Facebook and time away from our family, time away from the two of us that we used to spend together. And he was working a lot of long hours at his full-time job. So it just was a huge stressor. And I was still very much going through my own personal transformation. So my body was changing, and I was starting to look different. And so it just brought all these new changes into our life. So, Matt was unsupportive. He definitely made it very difficult for me to run my business anytime that he was home. And so I had to try to work around his schedule. But it kind of got to a pivotal point in our business where things started to change. So where do you feel like when do you feel like things started to change and you started to give me some support? Like what would you say was kind of that moment where you're like, maybe I shouldn't be such a jerk?
There's a lot of different things, just because, I was a jerk, but don't make it that bad.
But for good reason, you were a jerk,
yeah.
Right? You were looking out for our family, and the things you were doing were because you were looking at our family.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was the Beachbody. Whenever we got together, Summit was my big changing factors. We had a lot of friends, got a lot of different perspectives from other husbands, because, I felt like I was the only one going through this. We were always like on the separate pages of why I was working, what she was working for. And that really made a difference. Whenever I started supporting it, I was seeing the vision of Beachbody, and really just conversations and communication that we started to have because of, why you were working. It was to help people, and understanding that it's really hard to help people because it's a lot of time. It's to understand what you're doing, because I wasn't doing Facebook, and all of a sudden, you're on your laptop and I'm running around with 2 kids after working 10, 11 hours. And, it made it frustrating, and it was definitely difficult.
So what do you kind of feel like was the breaking point where you sort of were like, enough is enough? Like you are just doing too much, and we're not seeing enough money come in fast enough.
Like I said, I looked at it the 2 perspective. I'm a background in business, and I look at it as time in, time out. So, you do have to look at it as, at times you weren't making a lot of money, but you're spending a lot of time. But there's not a lot of jobs out there you can look at. If you take your last 4 weeks paycheck and look at every week that it's growing, to me, that's saying, here's my base, and I can continue to grow. And the limit's pretty much endless. So you have to look at it that it's a short time sacrifice. And when you make that and you continue to be consistent and grow that, then there's good things are going to happen.
Right.
There's no guarantees. There's never a guarantee in life. I mean, and I looked at it as, she got to run her own business and her own job. So, for me, it was a turning point was whenever we agreed. The first turning point was I got her the iPhone because she was doing all of her work off of this old crappy phone that she, every time she'd leave the house, she couldn't do anything. So whenever she'd get back, she'd run into her computer and that would annoy me. So it was like, oh, well, I won't be as bad when I get the iPhone. We got her the iPhone, and instead of just when she's running home, it was more or less in the car that she's going crazy. And it's really just because it's not that they're trying to, for the wife standpoint, avoid us. It's they're trying to respond because it is such a different business that we're used to running. I was, at work at 6:30, home by 5:30, 6. And then you kind of learn how to shut it off. You had your BlackBerry, you could get a couple emails in or out, but, this business is 24/7 and it's always churning, and it's people that, need you then versus need you in 24 hours. Things can wait versus here. And that's just a whole different understanding of how this business really works.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really, I was starting to make money and I started in July of 2011, and we didn't go to our first event until almost a year later. So we went to our first summit. So we did a whole year of us trying to juggle this and us trying to make it work. And when we went to our first summit, that's where you were starting to see my income grow. You were starting to see that I was making some money, but you didn't really quite get the vision of the company until we went to our first summit and you started talking to other husbands. You started networking with them. And if you know any of our story, I actually threatened Matt. I said I was going to send him back home on an airplane by himself if he embarrassed me on this trip. But what ended up happening was probably the best thing ever for our business. And so do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys talked about at the pool that day? Sort of change things?
I think at the pool, there was a couple bets going around that we were talking about where, Mel was, how well she was doing. And I just kind of naysayed and said, all right, yeah, sure. Okay. I bet, and then, like I said, there's a couple other husbands that jumped in the pool, and then they kind of start talking, and it just kind of like dialogue of like, dude, I just can't take this anymore. This is just getting crazy. And then some, other husbands like, hey, how many lives have you touched today? And you're sitting there and saying, well, what do you mean? It's like, these people are helping them lose weight. These guys are helping them, get their lives back and get them back and, giving support, and saying like, okay, at that time, I was helping people make pasta sauce out of a factory. It's like, okay, great. And it was very, fulfilling to me for what I did for my job and for what it was fulfilling to her of, helping people. So, as you just kind of take it all in, and some, it's so overwhelming. And, Mel's like getting up at 6 a.m. after, we go to bed at 2, 3 a.m, working out. And I'm like, I'm sleeping, and then she's running to the next, event and watching, all of these people speak. And I'm sitting there like, okay, all right. So she gets up, leaves, and all of a sudden, like, I drag myself out of bed. I go grab myself some McDonald's in the MGM lobby. And I seriously am like, okay, I just walk into the grand session and they're sitting there and they just started and Carl starts to speak, And I just kind of sat in the furthest row that nobody could see me. It was a dark corner, and I was like, all right, so I'm going to sit there. And I was like, I'm going to be here for 10 minutes. I'm like, because I'm going to have enough of this, and I'm out. So I literally sat there for almost 2 hours by myself with just paying attention because I was understanding how, what Beachbody's vision or what they were pumping through, understanding what their drive is. And, whenever that kind of hit me and said, right, this is something that it's just not somebody on the other side of the wall just trying to, this is like pushing buttons and stuff.
Sorry.
But, that's where I kind of said, okay, let's kind of look at this a little bit different. Granted, I was still not 100% on board, but I gave her more time. I gave her some more understanding. That was when I think we got home. We said, let's get a babysitter, 2.5 days a week, right. Just to give you some time, And it was only due to the fact of that she was covering the babysitting costs through her Beachbody money. It was like a sacrifice from her. It's like, okay, you don't have a credit card that you were kind of charging little things here and there. And now it's like you're paying for your babysitter. And if it's that valuable to you, then use it. So, it's a lot of different, rhymes and reasons that, we kind of continue, but it was finally the communication piece of, and I think the most important one was, and my tip for today is, like I said, I always tell a lot of the up and coming people and the things that I talk to is like, husbands don't have to be engaged in this business. They just need to be involved. So by the way I mean that is that I don't do social media. Well, I don't do it really at all. So you see, if you look at my page, I might post once or twice a month, and Mel tags me on some things, but it's more family driven things in business, because I don't want that on my page. And it's not that I just don't have interest in it. I don't like to go sit in front of the computer and respond to messages. I like to box with my buddies and make fun of each other. And I like to go do other things that, my wife doesn't like to do. So her hobby and her passion right now is Beachbody, which is absolutely awesome. And you just have to respect it. So at nights when I'm watching TV that, if I'm watching my Steelers, she's going to be over here on the laptop just chilling, doing it. It doesn't bother me anymore, because really at the end of the time, you're sitting there and looking at it and say, it's only a little bit of time that she's putting in here now that could be more benefit later.
Right. I agree. So they were asking like what parts of Summit are the most beneficial to go to. I mean, the general sessions.
General session, just because, you kind of see the leaders that are driving this mix. You hear a lot about their new products and what they're trying to pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
the recognition, the keynote speakers. Darren Hardy was a big one for you that you went to, not this past year, but the year before. And you even started listening to personal development in the car after that. That was something that you started to do, you know. So you're engaged behind the scenes. You just definitely understand. I bounce ideas off of him, even though he doesn't understand exactly what I'm doing or what I was doing then. I would say, what do you think about this idea? Or I would try to get him involved in other ways so that he knew that I was, that I felt that his opinion was important and that I valued that us doing this together as a unit, because I need him. This wouldn't be what it is today if we didn't work together, if we didn't have the communication, because it's definitely taken a lot of sacrifice.
So one of the questions I just saw was, do I think she's online too much? So I would say it depends upon the day and what's going on in our lives. So her and I have a role just that we've come through over agreements of, when we have other things that are going on, I know she has to work. We're a little bit different now that she's the primary income, the only income, and that she needs to continue to be there and support her groups, her coaches, and help drive this. But there's times that I need time with her just as a wife. I know there's times with my kids, and we have this thing that's like, okay, all right, I need you, and if she ignores me, then I go, all right, shut it down. And I remember back in the day, I would literally walk up behind her, slap the laptop down and say, all right, this is the third time I asked. It's like, you need to put it down. I understand that you want to respond, and it's difficult because you guys are attached in that fashion, but it's like you still have other opportunities. So, use your time wisely. And that's why I always challenge Mel. It's like, okay, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I have this. And I was like, all right, well, that's your time and that's it. Mm-hmm. And then I made her work on time management because she wasn't getting a babysitter until she was making more money. She wasn't getting some other, tools that would help her until she focused in. So scrolling through Pinterest and just hitting likes, that wasn't value added. To sit there and make a good post and things like that, that's what she started to work on in her time slot. So do
I work a lot? Yeah. But we did talk about it. It became communication. There are a lot of times I get up early. I get up really early, even on the weekends, to try to get it done before the kids get out of bed or before Matt gets out of bed, or try to get the bulk of it done. I go hard Monday through Thursday, and then I really make sure, like pretty much Thursday night through Sunday night, that's our family time. I maybe get in a couple of hours in the morning, but I really keep it limited because we need to have that downtime together. So I try to just work around our family. And that was something I didn't do before that I had to change.
Yeah.
So that we've made it work. But yeah, so throughout this upcoming week, guys, we are going to talk to you. We've got more tips. So if there is something you want Matt and I to talk about, I posted on my like page about this series that I was doing today. If you want to just go and give us some ideas and things, and we have a whole list, but we want to hear from you guys and what you guys want to hear. We'll make sure to share every single day and let you know. And like somebody said, hey, I'm bringing my husband to leadership for the first time. Can I bring him up and introduce him to Matt? Absolutely. Matt is the most personable person ever. He is happy to talk to you. I mean, of all people, he knows what it's like to be at that spot.
Pretty schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use a pretty schedule app to monitor your time?
What do you mean a pretty schedule app? It said pretty?
I guess.
I use Acuity. Was that what it was? Acuity scheduling?
For your postings?
Oh, I don't know.
No.
I'm trying to read all these. But what do I use for my scheduling? I just have a Google Calendar that I use, and then I use Acuity Scheduler is what I use to schedule out my calls and stuff with my team. So, yep. So, thanks. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We will get this up and published for you guys to listen to later. And thanks so much for being a part of this. Oh, yeah. I use Sendable, but I don't schedule my posts, like my daily posts on my Facebook page. I use it more for my challenge groups so that I don't have to, like if I want to sit down, I can engage with my challengers, but I'm not necessarily doing all those posts every single morning. So it saves me time. So that's what I use it for. So, all right, guys.
Why do you use Periscope?
Why do I use Periscope? Because it's kind of cool, and I like to make videos, and it's kind of an off-the-cuff way to just kind of talk and be informal. So I just feel like it's the new social media avenue to go, and I like video. So I like it. I just think it's kind of cool, and I like to learn new stuff. It challenges me. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, babe, for being